cynicism is gone.
Hello everyone, Joshua Myers here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Don't Breathe from 2016. Stars Jane Levy, Dylan Minnette, Daniel Zovato, I think that's how you pronounce his name. If not, here it is, or I'll put his name in the description box below, just in case if I forget. Stephen Lang, and it's directed by Fede Alvarez. The plot of Don't Breathe is that three young thieves fight for their lives after breaking into the home of a blind man who has a dark side. Now, before I get into the rest of this review, I would like to say I've never seen this movie. This was a first time watch for me. And, whew, I got some thoughts here, so let's dive right into them. First of all, I like the story. It's kind of a very simplistic story. It's just basically about, like I said in the plot description, three young thieves who break into this blind man's house, then soon realize that the blind man has a dark side and now are having to fight for their lives. You know, that's a very simple premise, actually. But man, was it executed pretty well, actually. Like, I was so engaged throughout the story, like, no joke. I was so focused in on this movie. I really was. And I also thought the film did really well with suspense. And before I go any further, this film was directed by Fede Alvarez and produced by Sam Raimi, who were the people responsible for the 2013 Evil Dead remake. I heard apparently there were criticisms that they wanted them to do something more original and something that was kind of more suspenseful and all that stuff, and man, did Fede Alvarez and Sam Raimi succeed in that. Like, Don't Breathe is really a tension-filled movie. Like, no joke, there's a lot of times I was on the edge of my seat. Really suspenseful film, and I like those types of horror movies that just purely builds on suspense. And that's what I tried to do with my horror movie. It does get rather tense, actually. Like, I would say the most, like, where it really starts to get tense is once you first see the blind man, played by Stephen Lang. That's when you first see, well, like, it's a bit tense. Like, at first it's kind of like, nah, he doesn't really seem like he'd be that much of a threat. But once he actually starts to show a little bit of his true colors, and that, whew, man, it gets intense, and it basically is a non-stop tension-fueled ride. I don't think there was any points I basically lost tension. It was that good. I also really dug the acting in this film. Everybody involved who played, like, basically all the acting in this movie was really good. There wasn't any single bad acting in this movie, honestly. Definitely, I would say favorite actors in this movie was Jane Levy and Stephen Lang. They gave probably the best performances out of this whole movie. And, of course, if you don't know, Jane Levy was in the Evil Dead remake. She played Mia. And honestly, I couldn't recognize her. I didn't even know that was her until I checked the credits, actually. That was Jane Levy, actually. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Mia from the Evil Dead remake. Man, she was really good in this. And again, Stephen Lang, I think this is my first film I've seen him in, and man, he was good. Not only was he creepy, actually, but there were times you could feel a bit of sympathy for him, but then, of course, you saw his dark side, which I'm not going to get into. There's not going to be any spoilers in this review, because I want you guys to see the movie for yourselves. There was only a few bits of jump scares, but they were so not really utilized. This is a pure tension-filled movie. Oh, also, the cinematography. I love the cinematography in Don't Breathe. Like, seriously, wow. The cinematography in this is really good. In fact, I really bet that if I was in the man cave watching on my 4K TV, it would look frickin' amazing on my 4K TV. Also, dude, the pacing was so good in this movie. This film clocks in about an hour and 28 minutes, and it really doesn't feel like that. There were certain points I was like, oh, we're here already? It felt fast enough, but it felt slow enough to where you could get, you know, characters and stuff like that, you know, and tension and everything. So it was just perfect pacing for me. I never once felt like I was not engaged with the movie whatsoever. And honestly, I could keep on talking on and on about the positives of this movie, and here's the thing, if I were to discuss even more, I would have to go into spoiler territory, so let's... unfortunately, there are a few things I'm kind of... Okay, I think this just should be more of a mixed thoughts, because, you know, it's something I'm rather mixed on. So let's change this from negatives to mixed thoughts aspect. So one of the things I'm rather mixed on, actually, is the characters themselves. There's not really anybody you could root for. At first it started good with me kind of liking the main characters in that, but then once I find out that their whole thing in this movie is that they're going to try to rob an old blind war veteran, you know, and I'm like, okay, and they don't really get, like, I mean, they get some reasonings, like, the most reasoning explanation you get for why one of these people is, and that's with Jane Levy's character, Rocky, and basically she's wanting to move out of Detroit with her and her sister, because she basically lives with a very crappy family in that, and plus in Detroit is not a great town, so she's wanting to take her and her sister and move to California in that, or wherever, basically, because anywhere's better than there. And you can have a little bit of sympathy towards Rocky, which I did. In fact, she was probably out the thieves the most sympathetic because of that. And then there's other characters which don't really get that much into why they need to steal from this blind man and that, really. And it just kind of, once you start to find out more things about this blind man, it's like, he's not even that much better, actually. In fact, there's even some aspects of him that are even worse, especially towards the end of the movie, and you just don't really know 100% to root for. So I guess in my opinion, the one you root for is whoever's the least bad of them, which the least bad of them would have to be Jane Levy. So that's kind of the issue with me. I wish there was a bit more characters that you could actually kind of root for, because there wasn't really any. The closest, again, like I said, was Jane Levy, and that's about it. And even then, she's still deciding to steal from an old blind man, you know, like an old blind war vet. Like, it's just so great, and I kind of like that, but on the other hand, I kind of wish there was a bit more characters to relate to. So, but as of right now, the closest one was Jane Levy as Rocky. That's really the closest character that I was rooting for, actually. And honestly, for me, that's it with things I'm rather split on, so let's move on to my negatives. Honestly, for me, I got no negatives. Nothing that I absolutely hated with this movie. So let's move on to my rating. So with that said, I'm going to give Don't Breathe a 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it's really good. The only thing that kind of hinders this movie a bit is the fact that there's no real 100% relatable characters that you could root for. You know, again, the closest character being Rocky, played by Jane Levy, and that's about it. So I kind of wish there was a few more characters in there, or maybe give more reasons for why the other thieves are needing to steal from this blind man. I don't know, just something, you know, it's like, but other than that, this was such a great movie, actually. Like, I loved it. It was actually one of the more suspenseful horror films I've seen lately. I would say the last one that was really suspenseful in that was the Invisible Man remake by Leigh Whannell. But this is really good. This is a really good suspenseful horror movie, and if you guys have not seen Don't Breathe, I highly recommend you check it out. And yes, I still have yet to review the Evil Dead remake by Fede Alvarez, and I'm going to get to that. I first need to review Evil Dead 2, and then this. I've already reviewed the first one and Army of Darkness, so. But I will get to the Evil Dead remake eventually. But yeah, again, a first time watch, and honestly, I'm really glad I checked this movie out, and I saw the trailer for Don't Breathe 2 recently, like immediately after I watched it, because I avoided the trailer simply based on the fact that I have not seen the first Don't Breathe. So for me, if I was going to check out the trailer, I would have to watch the first film, before I watch Don't Breathe 2. And honestly, I'm looking forward to Don't Breathe 2, which I'm probably going to see with Josh if me and him could go see that in the theater. But first I have to show him the first Don't Breathe. No, that's the first thing I'm going to have to show him. So yeah, before we go see Don't Breathe 2. So yeah, I really like the movie. Again, if you guys have not seen Don't Breathe, check it out. Do yourselves a favor. It was one of the more intense horror films I've seen lately. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and